Now, throughout NFL history, plenty of big names were stretchered off the field because of some ridiculous injuries. After being traded to the Cleveland Browns this recent offseason, OBJ was ready to move on from all the occurring problems from his previous team. He easily stood out as a superstar playing for New York with his athleticism, speed, and iconic catches, but the drama and emotion eventually just got the best of the situation. Odell made a huge name for himself with the Giants, but he had a step back that many didn't know he'd recover from. He suffered multiple injuries during the 2017 NFL season, and the second one was nasty. Right when it happened, you knew Odell was going to miss some significant time. This is probably the toughest season that Beckham's faced since beginning his NFL career. It started out in that year's preseason, with Odell and the Giants going up against the Browns, and he suffered a high ankle sprain that caused him to be sidelined for a short time. Odell went on to miss the season opener, but he eventually returned to the field for the next few games afterward. Some argue that he may have returned too soon, because directly after this, things got a whole lot worse for him. In week 5 of the 2017 season, Beckham sustained a fracture on the same ankle that he slightly injured a few weeks prior. The difference was, this injury was more significant this time around, and there was no way he was returning in just a few weeks. The injury required season-ending surgery, and it forced him to miss the final 11 games of the year. Beckham was going over the middle to catch a pass from Eli Manning, and the quarterback threw the ball, and Beckham was forced to go up in the air to catch it. As he landed, his foot was twisted underneath his leg in a gruesome fashion. Whenever someone lands on your foot, or your foot goes the opposite direction it's supposed to, it's never good. Beckham was showing an immediate pain after this, and he covered his face as he was carted off the field, knowing before anybody that this was in fact serious. Right after this happened, Evan Washburn of CBS on the broadcast said that Beckham was taken directly to the x-ray room. He didn't go to the locker room, and the Giants ruled him out immediately. The star receiver was later taken out of the stadium on a cart with what appeared to be a cast on his left leg, and according to ESPN, Beckham was almost immediately headed for surgery after the injury took place. And with Odell being a face of the NFL, all eyes were on the situation because it drastically changed that year's season, with the top player being sidelined. But with that, he made the best of his spotlight and even rocked a one-of-a-kind Louis Vuitton Supreme boot on the injured ankle, where he was spotted wearing it throughout the recovery process. But right after having successful surgery, Odell stayed optimistic, and he was confident that he'd make it back to what he once was, if not better. Odell later described the struggles he was facing during recovery in an interview where he said, "I remember nights falling asleep downstairs and having to crawl up 3 flights of stairs. To be able to walk again, to be able to do the little things, you become to appreciate being able to go back out there. Like I said, after I see my ankle snap and it feels like your world is upside down, life is just different. I'm just happy. Honestly, I'm just happy to be able to run around." Now, Shazier has become a huge name in the NFL, especially being the Steelers' biggest defensive playmaker since they took him in the first round of the 2014 draft. From being a consistent leader off the field, consistently performing on the field, Shazier looked unstoppable throughout his career. But during a Monday Night Football game in 2017, Shazier's career would change forever as he received one of the most devastating injuries to happen in the last decade. Shazier was injured during a game against the Bengals in Week 13. On Cincinnati's first possession of the game, Shazier went to the ground clutching his back after tackling Bengals wide receiver Josh Malone. It looked like a normal, everyday kind of tackle until Shazier didn't get up. He collapsed immediately with a spinal contusion, and although he rolled onto his side, he couldn't move his leg. Shazier was immobilized on a backboard, carted off the field, and taken to Cincinnati Hospital. With doctors uncertain whether he'd be able to walk again, he underwent spinal stabilization surgery 2 days later. And after the game, Steelers coach Mike Tomlin went on to say, "This is a tough game, tough business. 5-0, Shazier's our brother." Now, Shazier means more to the Steelers than just a player, and you can see that in just the way that his teammates reacted immediately after his injury. They had a hard time holding back tears in the immediate aftermath and for the rest of the game. Now, many fans, reporters, and stars around the NFL made their prayers known immediately as this happened. With it being a nationally televised game, the entire world was watching, so it was definitely good to see so much support around the league for Shazier. But ever since this took place, Ryan's continued to stay optimistic with the recovery process. It's definitely been a long and difficult road, but when the 1-year anniversary of this taking place happened in 2018, Ryan went into full detail about his emotions in the moment. He said, "Today is a day to remember. Just a year ago, my life changed forever. It was a scary moment for many people. I'm not gonna lie, I was one of them. I've learned this was an amazing opportunity for the Lord to show how great he is. It's been a crazy long journey, but it's not over yet. The best, worst part about this journey that I'm on is the unknown. Day by day, it's getting better than the day before. And I want to thank all the amazing people that have been a part of this process with me, starting with the one and only Michelle. Let's talk about my ride or die boy, my #1 man. My son RJ knows how to keep a smile on my face. My parents and siblings have been there through thick and thin. There was more than 1 million tears cried over this year, but now they're all of joy. I love you guys, my friends and teammates. Man, y'all don't understand just the little things that y'all have done that have pulled me through the darkness to the light. To the Steelers, there's no better organization. Thank you for being a family to me. The UPMC trainers and staff for getting me back on my feet. Steelers and Buckeye Nation, your prayers of love honestly keep me going. And to the fans everywhere, I feel your support honestly every day. CAA, thank you guys for constantly giving me advice and being the best agency in the world. And last but not least, I have to give Jerome Howard and Mike Micah an extra thank you for dealing with my foolishness, excuses, pain, and joy every day. These two are with me working every day, and I can't say thank you enough to these guys. Love y'all and thank you so much. Now, with it officially being 2 years since Shazier's injury took place, the Steelers organization has helped him, and they continue to show support throughout the process of Ryan returning to the field. Most would be pretty scared to make a comeback, but not Ryan. During his first press conference since the injury, Ryan said, "My dream is to come back and play football again. I've been working my tail off every day, and I have that in the back of my mind every day I go to rehab." And the general manager for the Steelers went on to say, "We'll continue to support Ryan's efforts to return to play. Although he won't be able to help us on the field in 2019, his leadership, insight, and emotional support have always been very valuable to us. We look forward to having his contributions in pursuit of a championship." Now, although Earl Thomas was dealing with contract issues not too long ago, the situation didn't get any better in the 2018 season. He decided to play with Seattle despite not being offered the contract that he felt he deserved, but this ended up making the scenario worse. Despite being the bigger man and trying to be there for his Seahawks teammates, Thomas was suited up for a game, but ended up suffering a season-ending injury. The injury occurred in the fourth quarter when Thomas was trying to make a play on what would be a 22-yard touchdown reception by Chad Williams to make the score 17-17 with 8:59 remaining in the game. Thomas suffered a lower leg fracture here against the Cardinals, and the moment quickly went viral. Not necessarily because of the injury itself, but how Earl reacted to it. As the cart pulled him off the field and he was headed toward the Seattle locker room along Arizona's side of the field, Thomas knew this completely ruined his contract negotiations, so he raised his right hand and flipped off the Seattle staff, putting his middle finger toward the team's sideline. The gesture was caught by Fox Sports cameras because the spotlight was on Thomas during this time anyways. The whole incident went viral as Earl expressed his mindset exactly toward the franchise he's been in a bitter feud with since the end of the last season regarding his contract status. Now, with Thomas being in the final year of a 5-year contract, paying him $8.5 million that year and $44 million over its entirety, Thomas wanted a new deal with guaranteed money before the season began, just in case a freak accident like this injury would happen. But Seattle declined because they knew the risk Thomas was taking being out there. Too much guaranteed money would have costed them way bigger than it did, so they decided to make a business decision. The Seahawks were already dealing with $25 million that they paid to former safety Cam Chancellor during the final year of his deal because he injured his neck, which happened to be a game at Arizona in 2017 as well. And that game also saw cornerback Richard Sherman tear his Achilles tendon. So the last thing Seattle wanted to deal with was more dead money on a salary cap for players no longer performing on the field. But players on the Seahawks team understood Earl Thomas' situation, and they gave their perspective on the situation. Seattle defensive end Frank Clark went on to say, "It sucks to see someone who put his all into this team and doesn't get what he deserves." And linebacker Bobby Wagner went on to state, "If I was him, I'd be pissed off. Pissed off that I got hurt. It's a tough situation. Fire him, I'd be really frustrated." Earl Thomas would eventually sit out the rest of the season, and a deal still wasn't made with the Seahawks. So Thomas remained optimistic until he reached a full recovery, and he went on to Baltimore, signing with the Ravens. Now, once the Kansas City Chiefs decided to move forward with Patrick Mahomes as quarterback, Alex Smith was no longer needed. And after getting Smith via trade, the Washington Redskins were hopeful that they found their new quarterback. Now, Smith had been solid throughout his career in the NFL, but a recent injury would take a toll on his career that he's still recovering from today. On November 18th, 2018, Smith suffered a gruesome leg injury in the third quarter of a game between the Redskins and Texans. This injury not only ended his season, but put his football career in jeopardy. Ever since, the quarterback's road to recovery has been far from smooth. He's had multiple surgeries on his leg, and he was forced to wear a metal fixture for several months. Smith remained in the hospital for almost a month before he was released and was limited to a wheelchair in the months after surgery. But it's recently become the 1-year anniversary since this took place, and Alex decided to give everyone an update. He revealed that he's been through roughly 17 different surgeries as an infection started to build on his leg, which almost resulted in him losing his leg forever. Although he hasn't played at all in 2019, Smith has been around the Redskins plenty. He made his trip down to Richmond for training camp, he's regular practice, and he served as a mentor for Redskins rookie quarterback Dwayne Haskins. Smith went on to update everyone again recently saying, "I've really tried to transition into working on some football stuff, like into some quarterback stuff. I'm working on my own, doing some of that stuff, so it's kind of the next phase in this. I was always kind of lurking to kind of graduate out of the everyday stuff and try to get into some athletic stuff and try to push that." Now, Smith ended up finishing this interview by talking about the months after recovery and how they were very tough on his family, but they adjusted well to his recovery process. Smith's exact words were, "My family, we're in a great place. It was hard there for a few months when I was incapacitated and couldn't help, and in fact, I was almost another child for my wife to take care of. She had to drive me everywhere, take care of me in a lot of ways, almost like a nurse. Now with the main goal for Smith to be able to play in the NFL again, he remains optimistic. From almost losing his leg to being able to walk, run, and starting to do his dropbacks, anything seems possible. Now with the Packers securing a playoff spot under a new coach, this newly revised offense has been on a tear this season. From changing schemes, adding new defensive pieces, and establishing a solid run game, the Packers are a legit threat this postseason. And the Packers have been really efficient with the 1-2 punch offensively with 2 running backs in the backfield capable of scoring at any moment. And when starter Aaron Jones needs a rest, Jamal Williams comes in. But earlier this season, he suffered a scary injury. Green Bay Packers running back Jamal Williams was taken off the field on a stretcher following his team's first offensive play against the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles linebacker Nigel Bradham had a hand on Williams' face mask, but defensive end Derek Barnett came flying in for a scary hit. Williams had already been stood up with no forward progress when Barnett launched himself at the Packer and contributed to the helmet-to-helmet injury. It was reported in the press box that he was being evaluated for a head and neck injury and he'd been ruled out for the rest of the game, but he did have feeling in his legs and arms, which was the bright side of this. The Packers head coach Matt LaFleur would give everyone an update following what had happened, where he went on to say, he spent the night in the hospital. He's at home now and he's doing well. Nearly 2 weeks after the hit, Jamal Williams would be cleared to play again after passing concussion protocol. Normally after a hit like that, it could be catastrophic, but Williams got very lucky. Williams actually talked about this himself and he went on to say, you can't be scared playing football. I got the green light, so I'm good. I'm gonna go out there and play like ain't nothing happened. That's how you're supposed to play. I'm not gonna change the way that I play. It's an experience. I don't wanna go through it again. I've been having a lot of people come up to me and be like, I'm glad you're walking. I don't even know what people are talking about. It's just a regular day for me. I seen the hit, but I look like a fish out there. Luckily, Williams was forced to only miss a few games because of this, even though it looked like it was way worse when it happened. What are you doing, bro? Click on this video. You see that video right there on the screen, bro? It's a pretty good video. I'd give it like a 9 out of 10, maybe a 9.5 out of 10. Something like that, you know what I'm saying? But honestly, you could be the judge of it. All you gotta do is just click on it, bro. You know what I'm saying? You just click on it. You don't even gotta think about it. You just click on the video right there, bro, and you can watch it. It's that simple.